Yo, what up? It's your boy, Mr. Locario. So in this video, I want to talk about how you should never let your habits control you. All right. Never let your habits control you. Now, you're probably saying, what are you talking about, Locario? What I mean by that is this, right? Now, you always hear that, if you want to create a habit, right? You do something for what they say, 21 days and you stick to it, and then that thing becomes a habit, right? And now that's a good thing because sometimes you want to develop a habit for certain things. Like you might, for example, want to start going to the gym. So you want to create a habit of going to the gym, or create a habit of eating right, or, create a habit of being disciplined in a certain thing. Like you say, okay, well, I'm a smoker, I don't want to quit smoking. So let me create a habit of doing some other thing versus smoking, or whatever it is like that, right? So when it comes to, creating a habit, a lot of times it's a good thing because it goes in a positive direction, and it sort of prepares you or conditions your mind to, do a certain thing and to make certain things happen, right? Which is all well and good. Now, the thing though is that you don't want to let your habits end up controlling you. And what I mean by that is that sometimes when you develop a habit, then you become the type of person sometimes who is on autopilot, to the point where you just continuously do certain things, right? But you don't realize that you're not necessarily consciously in control of what you're doing, because the habit has controlled you, right? So what happens is that you've gotten so used to the habit that you're just doing the thing because you've developed that habit to do that thing, but you're not really thinking about what you're doing. So I'll give you an example. Like there's times where, I make a lot of videos, right? So I got into a habit of, making videos every day, right? And then I remember there was one day where either I was not feeling too good, or I was probably busy, or something was going on where I wasn't able to necessarily make a video that day. Now, because I had a habit of making a video every day, it felt weird, not to make a video. You understand? Because I have a habit of doing it. So I sort of felt the difference of not doing it because I've been in a habit of doing it so much. Right? But then I asked myself, I was like, well, why does it feel so weird to not do it? Right? And I was saying to myself, could I just consciously not do it and be okay with that? Right? So there were other times where I was like, hey, I should do a video. I have time to do a video now, but what if I just don't? What would happen if I just don't? Right? And so me thinking that way was saying, okay, even though I have a habit of this, I can still stop doing this at any time and then start doing it again at any time. Right? But the feeling of feeling weird about not doing it is because it was almost as if my habits were controlling me. Right? So the thing is, like I said, it's good to have the habits, but at the same time, you don't want to let your habits control you. So me consciously deciding just not to do it and just to, not do it that day was me sort of breaking out of the control that the habit had over me. You see what I'm saying? So you want to be very conscious of that, because as good as it is to have habits, right? You don't want to ever let your habits control you, because just like I said, when that day came when I didn't really have time to do the video or whatever was happening, it felt weird, and I felt, this unease because I strayed away from the habit. But the weird part is that why should it feel so uncomfortable to stray away from it? And part of that uncomfortability was because I was so trapped in the habit or sort of controlled by it, right? Because I created the habit, but then the habit almost took a life of its own over me, right? So when I made the conscious decision to not do the video, right? That was me saying, yeah, even though I developed or created this habit, I can also chill and not have to be susceptible to it or not be a slave to it. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, when you think about certain things that you do in your life that are habits, like I said, you just go on autopilot. You just, going through it like, unconsciously. It's just something that you do all the time, and you don't even necessarily recognize sometimes that you're even doing what you're doing, because you're just doing what you've always been doing because you've created that habit, and you're not really conscious of it happening, and then are you really in control necessarily? Or have you conditioned yourself to be a robot? You see what I'm saying? So you got to think about that sometimes. Like, again, it's good to have those habits, because those habits, again, can be a thing that can help you to stay organized, to, get things done, to stay on course, to be consistent. Those are all great things. But you also want to be conscious at the same time so that, you're not letting this take over you. You see what I'm saying? Even though you're the one who created it, you also want to be the one who can say, well, I don't need to do this if I don't want to do this, or I don't actually have to do this just because I've been doing this. You understand? And that shouldn't necessarily feel like, uncomfortable doing that, right? Because you should always be able to be conscious enough to have that sort of control, even though you've created that habit.